All right, guys, before you watch this episode, if you've not listened to my episode with Peter Stockdale on his podcast, The Audible Farm, don't even bother watching this until you've listened to that. Peter's the man. He's been with me since the fucking beginning, and we always have a great time. So give his show a shot before you watch this, or I'm going to bitch slap you like Will Smith. If you're looking for a solid team of people to get you started with your next gig or event, head over to Stutterbox Productions for all of your needs, from merch to bookings. Check out their Facebook page today. This is the McAllister's podcast. We've just it's basically started, but we're here. Peter Stockdale, Audible Farm.
What's up, guys?
Also member of Three Finger Betty, and you still part of Unity?
Unity has dissolved. That is done for at least for what I know. It's not going anymore. But I do play like with Jesse Wilson. He's like a country. I guess you could call him a country singer. I don't know what else you would call him, but like his live shows, he'll like do hip hop and rock and all sorts of things in there. So like, I don't know, he's done like Vanilla Ice, or he'll do songs by like Blackstreet, and it's just like, okay, like rock and roll. Well, he's done like a Little John song, like he's done that before. So like, you never know what he's gonna play, and that's one of the reasons it makes it so fun to play with him.
Yeah, that name sounds familiar. I feel like I recognize Jesse Wilson. You know, I want to say this off the bat. Like, you are truly like one of my favorite podcasts in Iowa. Like, you were doing some great shit, man. I feel like you and I, do a lot of very similar things where, I am trying to branch out, but I tend to do a lot of hip hop artists, and you always tend to do, not always, but you tend to do a lot of, guitarists, rock artists, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I really love what you're doing, man. It's fucking awesome.
Appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, there's not too many people that are doing what we do on at least like a semi-consistent basis.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, I mean, there are other Iowa music podcasts out there. Unfortunately, the Iowa Music Podcast is not around anymore. Mike Schulte was doing that one. That's done for. He's got another one that he's doing.
Yeah, well, he's one of my favorites. All of them. Confused Breakfast.
Yeah,
like, they're doing some crazy shit. They're killing it, and like they're actually like have numbers. They were mentioned on the fucking was it Two Bears,
One Cave? Yeah, they got a shout out from Bert Kreischer.
From
Brent Crystals.
Yeah, I went to their YouTube and they got 100K. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, it's legit. I mean, they do a lot of stuff, and Mike's always been good at that stuff, like social media, which is something I feel like any of us, a lot of people that listen to this, I'm assuming, are like mine. They're entertainers, but like, you got to work on your social media. And I, for a while, like really, really dove into it really hard, and it burns you out. You got to schedule things out and get it done right. But they do a lot of stuff. They do a lot of social media, a lot of clips, a lot of things like that, so.
Yeah, that is an area where they are, I feel like, one of the best. They really have that nailed down. Well, they have the advantage with like talking about movies all the time. They can always like make unique clips out of that whole thing.
Yep. Yeah, or like mash up things that like, those are some of my favorite clips. Like, bet you didn't remember when this guy was in that movie, and they'll put like, whatever, like a scene from Top Gear and like mix it in with, or one from Top Gun and mix it in with something like Matilda or whatever. I don't know whatever they're talking about for the week, but
yeah. They always have like weird mixes too. Like they were having like they were talking about I didn't actually listen to the episode, but they were talking about the Matrix and like how there's like a fan theory with Star Wars. They just go off on these like, tangents. It's interesting.
It is pretty wild. For a while when I would like, I go in spurts with like movies and TV shows and watching stuff. So like sometimes I'll watch stuff and I'll get like super deep into it, and people will have these like crazy fan theories. Like I watched King of the Hill recently, like start to finish, and I was just like, wow, what are some fan theories on King of the Hill? And it's just like the stuff that's like absolutely insane that's in there that you're like, okay, like so and so is actually so and so's father, and yet yada yada yada. It's like, oh, okay, this is wild. So I don't know, but it's really fun to like think about those kind of theories and like whether or not they might be real, or like what universes like shows take place in. Like NBC in the 90s was really famous for crossing over a lot of their sitcoms, so some of them like supposedly took place in the same universe or whatever. So I mean, there's infinite angles you could take with like what those guys are doing. So hats off to them for like picking a good topic.
Yeah, for real. How long is fucking King of the Hill? How many seasons is that?
I don't know, like 9 maybe.
Jesus.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And it's kind of weird. Like, I don't know. I got really into it because it's honestly like a really good show. But like one of the reasons I started watching it was because people kept sending me the memes, and I'm like, I don't get the reference. Like it's a funny joke because I can see what's going on, but I don't understand the reference, or whatever. So I started watching it, and like one of the ones that goes around is like the greatest joke that's ever been told on or ever been shown on television was in Hank Hill was trying to use WD-40 on something. And he couldn't get the cap off, so he got a smaller can of WD-40 out of his other pocket and greased the cap so he could get the cap off the bigger WD-40 to use it. And it's like, that's hilarious, There's a lot of stuff like that that's hidden in the show that you don't notice because there's no laugh tracks in it. So,
yeah. I do kind of like that. Yeah, my mother would say this. I almost kind of agree with her. There's almost something about like lack of laughter, like The Office or like King of the Hill that like gives it like an extra laugh effect because there's something about like cued laughs that like feels very fake.
Yeah. I mean, you obviously are supposed to laugh at certain things, but it kind of feels like you said, it feels forced when it's like not a live studio audience and it's canned laughter. That kind of does bother me. But like I feel like a lot of the stuff where they don't put laugh tracks up, it's more dry humor, so you have to figure out why it's funny, or it's like cringe funny, or like one of my favorite movies for humor like that is Spinal Tap. So like you could watch it through like all the way through start to finish, and then you don't realize that there's like a joke in this one scene that you don't notice it until like the second time through, So, I mean, everybody loves Spinal Tap, but yeah.
I couldn't get into it actually.
It's super dry. Like it's super dry. Like I remember watching it as a teenager and just being like, everybody loves this movie. I have to love it, and just watching it, just being like,
disappointed.
Yeah. I watched it. I know all the stuff that happens, but then when I rewatched it, in my 20s, I was like, oh. Like there's a scene where they're all talking and like 3 of the band members all have cold sores and like nobody draws any attention to it. It's like a 2-minute scene and like that's it. They're like at a party somewhere like after a show and it's like, oh, why would all 3 dudes have cold sores? It's like, oh, you kind of start to like connect the dots in your head as to why like 3 band members might have cold sores, and then you're like, okay, hilarious. But it's like nobody says anything about it. It's just like in a scene and gone, like just like that,
Yeah.
And so those are the kind of things when you watch it the second time, you're like, I didn't notice that the first time or the 5th time. It wasn't until like the 10th time I saw that. I was like, holy cow, that's hilarious,
That's funny. Yeah.
I don't know. There was we're gonna turn this into the Confused Breakfast talking about movies and stuff.
That's fine.
I don't know. There's another fun line in there. This is for like everybody because we're all performers. We've all played live and stuff like that. But there's one of the lines in there like the opening band was so bad they're still booing them while we were on stage playing, and it's like. Clearly, if they were booing while you were on stage playing, it's because of you. It's not because the opening band was bad. Like, so yeah. Damn. I don't know.
I'll have to give it a rewatch. There are movies that I know are great, and then I'm just in a moment and I just can't get into it. Like Schindler's List.
Oh,
like I know that's supposed to be like a fantastic movie, but every time the 2 times I've tried to watch, I'm like, I can't get into it.
How do you prepare yourself to get super depressed? And that's like, like
that's a good point.
That's how I feel about it though. Like I feel that way about a lot of dramas and stuff, and it's just like, man, I've tailored my life to deleting as much drama out of it as I can, to the point where I don't like even talking about it. But then like when some happens, I just like I have a meltdown mentally. I'm like, I can't deal with this. Like like rom-coms and stuff like that. It's just like manufactured drama, and I'm just like, these two just need to get together and laugh and have fun, because that's what life is supposed to be about. That's like why all I listen to is like comedy podcasts. That's why all I talk, sitcoms is all I watch. That's all I want to talk about is Seinfeld. Like
I envy that. No, I don't know. Maybe it's just like the film critic in me, but I've always been drawn to like dramas and shit. Like I was watching There Will Be Blood over the holidays. Like that's a fucking fantastic movie. Like I don't know. There's something about like and it's not even like necessarily drama. It's like I feel like a great film has elements of all genres.
Yes.
A true masterpiece of a film. Like even like great horror films have like there's like a what's the term like the B style horror, the campiness.
Yes.
Campiness of horror. There's like a comedic element to horror that in all the great horror films there's at least some element to, even in the darkest, because the beauty about horror films is you need like some comedic element to like relieve the audience. If you have just like an hour and a half of just like people getting their heads chopped off and just do after another, people are gonna get bored. They're just gonna be like, whatever.
Yep.
You need to be able to bring people back.
It needs to be a swerve of some sort. I like when you're talking about that, like the first movie that came to my mind for some reason, maybe it's because I watched it kind of recently, but Fargo. So, like,
that's a great fucking movie.
So that movie's super dark in places. It's like a drama for most of the movie. The whole thing is like, but it's taking place in northern Minnesota. So everybody talking like this, they got that like super Minnesota draw, like, don't you know, and all that other stuff. And well now, and saying all those common phrases. So like, there's that, but there's also like comedy stuff because Steve Buscemi's in it, And,
well, and not all their movies, but that movie specifically is just like absurd. The last half hour just goes off the rails. Like when he's like, pushing his foot down the wood chipper, you can't help but laugh. You're like, what the hell is going on? What has happened to this?
Or like I don't know. Like there's like a recurring thing in there where they keep referring to Steve Buscemi as like a weird looking fella. Like what kind of weird? I don't know. Just kind of like generally weird looking, Like
he does look like a crackhead or something, He's got like fucking shrunken in eyes and just like, yeah, man. What's on?
I heard recently on a podcast that he was like, somebody like maybe an agent or something was like, you could get a lot of work if you like fix your teeth and kind of like stuff, and he was just like, no, because I'm getting a lot of work without it, and like the people I'm playing, they have to look like this, which is a testament to in Hollywood they have to have people that look like everybody, because they can't have just everybody can't be like a chiseled 6'3" guy, or like your typical whatever model girl or whatever. So like you got to have people of all sorts of ilks in there.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta have your Christian Bale, that can like change, shapeshift essentially.
Yeah, I mean that's honestly that's what life's all about, man. Variety, So don't stop being you.
Just go on. Just be a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this was when I was talking to Three Finger Betty, or I heard this on a podcast, but like you're basically like busy every weekend, aren't you?
Yeah. So like I played, like last year I think I played 78 shows.
That is insane. I don't know anyone that's doing that.
Yeah, that was between 3 different bands. So like I played probably like 10 or so, maybe with Three Finger Betty, maybe give or take a few.
Oh, wow.
And then I played like 60 with Jesse Wilson. I played a lot of shows with him, and that's the crazy part about that was he played shows I couldn't make it to. He also played like solo gigs and stuff, so I don't know how many shows he played last year. Like he'd probably be pushing 100. So
where are you all going? Are you going to the same place, or are you just like scattered, like going different places everywhere?
Jesse and I last year, man, we played a lot of different places. So the farthest away I think we played was Iowa City. We played there a few times. Otherwise we played in like Stratford's we played in a lot of like smaller town bars, but they're like around, obviously, like the Des Moines area's got like a lot to offer, but these small town bars are everybody from all the other small towns comes to this small town to hang out at certain bars to watch music or whatever, so we've found a few of those types of places, and like Stratford would be one of them. They've got a place there called the Copperhead, and that's one of those types of deals. But Fort Dodge, we play a lot of shows, but he books private shows, or just like we've played in towns that have like 150 people in them, but like the bar is absolutely packed, and like you go outside and it's like every license plate's from a different county. Like this is wild, So I've like found a different scene out there. There's a bunch of that kind of going on too, And I played like Ragbri. I've played by like the lakes and things like that. So I've got a lot of really fun opportunities with them to play a lot of cool shows. Like I opened up for the Pork Tornadoes at a show once this year. So
that's fun.
Check something cool off the bucket list there.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty neat. Like I got to be in a music video with them this year as well. So
wow, how was that? How was that experience like?
It was pretty fun. Like a lot of the music video is them. It's the song's called River Road, so it's like a lot of them around like a river, or things like that nature. So there was a portion in it where he wanted to have him playing with a band on a stage, so he found like an abandoned like theater from like an old school, and he found out who owned it and what they were doing with it, and he got the ability to use it. So we were like in some abandoned old school, and we cut a music video. And so that was like another fun one where like every time Jesse records a song, he kind of brings me in to just play like a filler set of solos, for, you know, just kind of get the scratch track laid down or whatever before he brings in like studio musicians from around the state to kind of fill in the different parts, because that's kind of like what he likes to do, is collaborate with other people. So like I laid down a solo for that, and he was like, this is actually pretty good, I might actually just keep this or whatever. And then somebody that he'd been waiting on for a while like sent in a solo, and it was like a bazillion times better than mine. Like it was just like, I thought mine was good, but this one fits so much better, so he went with that one, which is cool. So I'm in the music video emulating somebody else's solo. Which
that's funny.
It is pretty fun because at the time, like, the song wasn't even released, so they were like, you gonna play this solo? And I'm like, sure. How does it go? And that was the first time I had heard it. Was at the music video taping. So like I got to listen to the song like 3 times, and it's like I have to try to emulate this solo and make it look like it's kind of close. But through the power of years of practice and kind of getting close and editing on a computer, thank you. Yeah, funny. It looks pretty good. So,
Peter, you're a fraud. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Of course I am. That's actually what it's all about. No, but it's really fun to be able to play shows with him, because I got to experience a lot of really fun things this last year doing it, And ironically, I started playing like bass guitar with him originally, and then I started playing electric guitar with him, and he formed a full band this year. We played a handful of shows, so that's been really cool too.
Damn.
So
that's nuts, man. That's the thing about those small, like, I totally know what you're talking about, like in a small town, like how people will drive like 20-25 miles out. There are those like clicky little things. I can just imagine. Like, how is that driving around? Do you listen to a lot of podcasts, or do you just
yeah, that's like the ironic thing about it is I would say like literally 99% of the time listen to podcasts. Like there's very rarely an urge to listen to music, and it's like now I'm at a place in my life where I listen to really weird music. Like one day I was just like, I'm going to listen to some Michael Jackson. And so I just popped on like 3 Michael Jackson albums in a row while I was driving somewhere. I was like, this dude hauled. Like, no wonder everyone went nuts about him. The dude was so good. His music's crazy. And like, I'm finding myself as I grow to like not dislike as much music as I thought I disliked when I was younger, because obviously you grow up and you have different opinions on things.
Yeah.
So like I put in some Smashing Pumpkins, which were like never my favorite, and listened to like 3 or 4 albums of theirs. So like, these guys were awesome. Like,
yeah.
I should have enjoyed a lot more music when I was younger. That's like one of the toughest realizations of getting older that I'm finding is like, man, when I was younger I thought I knew everything. I was so confident, and I was such a like, I had my head up my ass pretty much most of the time.
Yeah. It's probably good you didn't know all the music, because, I mean, that's the thing. You get to discover music in life. Like Outkast.
Very true.
Like Outkast was one of like the first songs I ever heard. Like, not one of the first songs I ever heard, but like I grew up in a very like strict environment. Like my parents, I was literally just like hymnal music and like Christian rock. That was like all I was allowed to listen to.
Yeah.
And then like when I went to kindergarten, on the radio was playing Outkast, and so like in my adult life I rediscovered Outkast, and like I've had this like connection to my childhood, and it's been this really weird thing. And I fucking like, I'll just pop on Miss Jackson and just watch him like put the wallpaper up.
Yeah.
Sorry, Miss Jackson. That kind of shit.
Did you grow up with the internet? Like, how young were you when you like hopped on the internet the first time? Do you remember? Because like that's something I feel like is the biggest barrier.
Well, I was born in 95. I feel like probably around 9/11 I had internet.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, at least by like 8 or 9. I remember dial-up. I remember being on the internet, having having my mom fucking make a phone call. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah. You kicked me. I'm on MSN Messenger talking to all my friends. Come on, Mom.
Yeah. I remember I'd get in trouble all the time for like going online. Like, because they were like, you remember the early days of the internet. There was all this scare about like, online predators, which, I mean, it was definitely a thing that people should be educated about, but like the amount of it versus like the reaction to it is probably very small. Yes. So like I feel like my parents just kind of were on that train of like, you can't do anything. Like they got mad at me for like RuneScape, like Facebook and shit. Like just, yeah, they were just so like anti that. Like my mom didn't want to get an Apple account because she didn't trust them with her credit card information.
Oh, okay.
Well,
like, I mean, you can you can be that way, but it's going to be tough to go with the times, you know?
Well, now they've like developed, you know, because I mean, it's like literally impossible now. If you're trying to get by with like checks and cash, it's like, I don't even know how you live. You know?
I cannot believe that checks are actually still a thing that is accepted at a face-to-face transaction.
Yeah, it's like, it's way less legitimate than online transaction, I feel like, you know, because that's just encrypted. It has like a code. Like a check is just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
It gets fraud all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you have... The weird thing about a check is, like, you have their information on the check. So, like, you can use it. You can... But, like, what if there's no money in there? Like, it bounces and you don't get your money, you know? Like, depending on where it's cashed. If you try to electronically cash it, that's what's going to happen. So...
Yeah.
I don't know. It depends on what goes down. Like, checks are just super weird. So I'm not big into checks.
Yeah. You ever fuck crypto?
Yeah. I mean, a little bit. Like, I bought into it before, like, the big crypto whoa, you know, like, everybody freaked out, you know, and like right around COVID time and started jumping on the crypto thing. So, but I don't know. I won some on that end, but then, like, when everyone was going nuts with crypto, I threw some money around and came out pretty flat. So
yeah,
I don't know. I won some, lost some. It's not like a, you know, it's one of those things I always like think about with like investing and things like that, because I like to do it in my free time because I think it's fun. Like, I don't like gambling, but that is pretty much gambling, you know. So, but like,
yeah, in a way,
especially with something with nothing backing it like crypto. But like, you should just take your win and just call it a win, you know. Like, I bought into a bunch before everyone went nuts with it, and I was like, I'm ahead on everything, and now I'm like pretty flat on everything. You know,
yeah.
So.
Well, crypto is crashing right now.
Yeah,
there are, not to get into it, but there are like, I think like the Czech Republic and other governments have like outlawed it. Yeah. So that's kind of the fear of crypto. Like, it's in theory, it's this way to, like, you know, people to independently make money and like decentralize things, but like governments can come in and just be like, yo, you can't have this. You know, the U.S. or like, you know, U.S. government could like buy it all out. Yeah, and then like just.
So, you know, crypto's super weird, like, just in general, like what it is and how people value it and things like that. Like, it's pretty much just a way to like guarantee that information gets transferred and nobody can mess with it. Like, that's what it is. And you have an encryption type based thing that is going from one end to the next, and you have to use computers in the middle to decrypt it and make sure that it went to where it was supposed to go, and everything got there, etc. So like, these computers in the middle could be anybody, and that's where these people have these like computer banks where they're physically mining crypto, where their computers are trying to generate the answer first. And if you do, you get like a coin. And then these, like, what do you do with these coins? Well, I'm using money to like power a computer to do something, so there has to be some value to this coin that I've gotten, which is an actual, like, that's technically like a physical Bitcoin. That's like, you know, because they got the coin from doing the actual work. Where like a lot of people that are trading crypto are just trading the commodity of the crypto, not actually trading the crypto itself. But,
yeah, I don't understand the mining part. Like, I understand like having like an online currency like that, face value makes sense because everything's going that way. But like, yeah, I mean, this is probably just, maybe it's my lack of understanding, but yeah, the mining thing doesn't make sense. Yeah. Like with dollars, that's kind of the argument, though. Like, you know, it's like with the Federal Reserve and like the value of money, like the gold standard is completely fucked. Like, it's not, money isn't even based on that. It's like at the point where it's so inflated, out of control, it's not even really worth anything anymore. Like in terms of like what it used to be, like when we were like mining for gold and things had value, and like, you know, they were still trading that kind of things.
Value is an interesting concept in and of itself, though,
exactly,
too, to like place on something. You know, you're finding a lot of that these days where like a lot of markets are super inflated. I spend a lot of time like with like looking at the used gear market, debating whether or not I should buy and or sell certain things that I may or not want. And it's weird. Like, the used gear market for everything is just outlandish. Like, anything that's over 20 years old is retro, and everything's worth $1 million because it's ultra rare, you know. And I mean, they're not really that rare, but you're finding people that are like there's certain guitars I like, but there's people that will like buy them and then part them out because the parts of them are worth more because they've bought one and it's missing parts and they want those parts on there now, you know, whether it be like knobs or certain things like tuners or something, you know.
Damn, that's sad.
And it's pretty junko, but yeah, I don't know. This is like a fun conversation because I don't know how we got back on this topic here, but
you're on the McAllister Hours, man. That's what happens.
That's how it happens, you know. I don't know. Yeah, I do have that's probably like my favorite and least favorite thing about like playing guitar is like liking gear and then trying to like find the right gear that you want to use at shows. Like I kind of covered that in a recent podcast episode on my podcast, but like it's I don't know. It's crazy. It's weird to like find special deals on certain things that people don't know what they have, and you show up and you're like, hey, I'm just letting you know this is what it's worth, like else, if you're still willing to sell it, and trying to at least be a nice guy about it. And it's fun because a lot of times like people are just like, I don't care, just take it. And it's like, okay, so
one time I brought in a guitar to the Guitar Center and it was worth less than $10.
Oh my gosh. to them oh yeah, I could see that being a thing, but
I was like, no, whatever.
Like you might like, I don't want to be like, hey, but like pawn shops and guitar shops are not what they used to be because there just aren't many of them. So like it's tough to get a justifiable amount anywhere other than selling it firsthand. So that's what a lot of people choose to do these days, is just like put it on Facebook Marketplace, But it's kind of funny getting on there too, because you can see guitars that are literally like, this guitar market value is literally like is not over $100, and someone mistakes it for some like a $400 guitar because a lot of them look really similar. So if you don't know what you have, or it's missing some of the certain badges to let you know what model it is, it's like, this is a Epiphone Les Paul, and it's like, yeah, that could be anything. There's $80 ones and there's $1,000 ones. It could be anything.
So like when you talk about like patches, because I've played guitar for several years myself. Like what, like how's, I mean, you don't have to get into too specific, but like what are like the general things that you determine like what kind of specificity it is in terms of what guitar it is?
Oh,
and like in terms of like you saying like it's whether it's really this guitar or not, how do you determine that?
Oh, I mean, like certain guitars have like certain giveaways. So like Fender, the easiest thing would be like, does it say Fender or Squier? Squier is like the low end Fender. They look just like Fenders. They're kind of made by Fender, quote unquote, overseas usually. But yeah, Squier stuff, if it says Squier instead of Fender, that's usually just a cheaper guitar. But like Fender, then on the headstock, it'll tell you if it's made in Mexico or not. And so like the Fender ones are usually Mexico or America. There are some Japanese ones out there as well, but those are like, just things like that. Like Gibson guitars usually have something on the headstock that's just like, this guitar is obviously a Les Paul shape, but the headstock says, Studio Custom. So it's like, oh, it's a Les Paul Studio Custom, or whatever. Then you start to look like, you start to figure out what kind of models you like on guitars or what kind of certain things you enjoy. And that's like the benefit I have. I've gone to so many different jam nights and played so many different people's instruments where it's like, I almost don't need a guitar shop anymore. I've got enough peers and friends that I've played with where it's like, I got to try certain guitars out. And there's some guitars out there, ironically, like nowadays that are super cheap and they're like, this not only looks great, but it plays great. So,
yeah.
The market is kind of weird out there. I think there's going to be a point in time where there's going to be a huge shift because there's companies overseas making guitars that are so good that like America can't keep up unless they charge way too much for it. That's the unfortunate part.
Damn.
It's like a lot of American guitars, like brand new, are like $2,000 or $3,000, and it's like, wow, there's not many that aren't that much.
Fuck, man. Yeah, that's what's kind of deterred me, away from like that's like been an element of guitar, because like I still have the acoustics, I still feel around on it, but yeah, like my electric's fucked up. I feel like if I want to take it to that next level, I have to like put like however many hundreds of dollars into that. I'm just not really willing to do that.
Yeah, I mean,
ultimately,
it's like a weird thing though too, because like you start out playing guitar and you want to buy a cheap one because you don't want to spend a lot of money in case you don't want to play it. But the bad thing is that the cheap ones are harder to play. I mean, it's just the way it works. So it's like that double-edged sword of when you're first learning, and you probably should get a guitar that's nice so it's easy to play, so you learn.
Yeah,
you're playing like a really difficult one to play. And it's not that they're difficult; they just don't play as well. So that's like kind of a goofy thing about them, like the concept of playing a guitar. But I don't know. I went through a point where it's just like I have a cheap guitar, then I had a mediocre guitar, and then I bought a good guitar. So I had three, like one of each, like ilk, and I was like, it's obvious to see why the cheaper guitars are cheap. But then through my life, I've like bought and sold guitars, and now like one of my favorite guitars I play is like one of those $100 guitars I was telling you about. And it was something I like test painted just to see if I could like hydro dip something. And I was just like, I'll just hydro dip this cheap guitar and see what happens. And now it's like one of the guitars I play all the time, which is like super weird. because it's, you know, not as easy to play, and it's obviously made out of cheap materials. While you're playing it, you can tell that. But I've kind of fallen in love with it. But I do also have like a nicer guitar I play.
I think that's a badass guitar, that one you're talking about. I've seen you perform with that one.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, for people that don't know, I do play in a punk band, Three Finger Betty, and Mr. McAllister showed up at a show one time. And
I did. So it was fun.
That's really awesome. Like, I super appreciate that, because that's one of the cool things about people that are in, I don't want to say like our line of work, but like doing what we do. Like, it's I don't know. I don't take people supporting me while playing, like seeing me play live, I don't take that lightly anymore, because I know what it is to like go out and do that. Like, it's, you know, even though I'm playing 80 shows a year, I've probably caught like, 50 shows a year, so I'm still going out to watch shows, or like we'll get done with our show and we'll pack up and we'll walk across town to go see somebody else who's playing for another hour at a different bar, so like I'm not foreign to that. So when people come to my shows, I notice, and I'm very thankful and grateful for it. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. It for how many shows you play, that it's just fucking nuts, man. It's crazy what you do. It really is.
Yeah.
I remember like when we went to that show, like it was kind of weird, because I think that was our first live event we went to post pandemic.
Yeah, it was one of the first ones we played post.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we played a few like during the pandemic when you could play, but it was still while like, there was still like social distancing and all the extra rules. So like nobody showed up to the shows, but we did play a few during the pandemic. I mean, we played some places and just live streamed instead. So it was like a closed venue, but they like, had 2 people in there like running the sound and lights and recorded it live and put it out there on YouTube. So,
it was a weird and shitty time, but it was something.
It was something. Yep.
And it's kind of interesting. I feel like it's part, that whole streaming aspect is going to be permanently ingrained in everything now. Yep. Like that's, obviously we're pre-recording this now, but like I want to keep live streaming like a big element of this show, because I think maybe not necessarily every time a lot of people tune in, but like the 5 people that tune in every time, like that's something to them. Like they're watching.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And that's one of those things where like interacting with those people, like somebody said it recently on one of my podcasts, something like, if you're in a show and there's 100 people there and 20 of them are reacting really well to what you're doing, you feel like you're playing to 5,000 people. Because it's just like to those people, this is like everything. And so like you on stage, to those people are everything to you. So
yeah, fuck, I'm about to be performing here next weekend.
Nice.
Actually,
nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing the hip hop showcase. My buddy Lolo Savage, he runs it. He does it. Starbucks and Dear Lord also. People, shout out to them. But yeah, it's kind of just like a local. They do it on West Des Moines. They do it like once a month.
Cool.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, they usually get like sometimes all people from out of town. Usually they just get locals. It's like they got 10, 12 people that go up do. I'm doing like 20 minutes this time. It's his birthday, so it's a free show.
Oh, cool. Where's it at?
It's called Your Private Bar.
Oh, yeah. You were there one time.
Yeah, this will be my 3rd time there, actually.
I was going to try and get to there, and I couldn't. Like, that's like the only bad thing about playing so many shows is, like, sometimes I'm playing a show, and it's like, I'm up at Okoboji this weekend, and then, like, if I want to see a show, it's like I can't make it to Des Moines. It's like 3 hours to Des Moines from Okoboji, or like maybe 4, So no can do, like I can't.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I can't leave my show and go to watch another band finish playing or whatever. So it's
I mean that's the double that's a double-edged sword of being a performer, But that's just true. I understand that. I would never like hold it personally for someone like not showing up to a show,
Yeah.
Like honestly, this show I'm gonna go and dip. I have a crazy weekend. I'm performing Friday, and then Saturday I'm driving up to the Quad Cities and shooting a music video, doing another podcast, then Sunday I got work.
Yeah.
So
you've been pretty busy lately, like recording music videos, more music videos, things of that nature. So
yeah, well, that's kind of I want to talk about this on your podcast also, but like, I've kind of like been at a point where I'm trying to focus more on the podcast. There is something about the music, as much as I enjoy it, that's like kind of draining in a sense that there's a certain persona that I'm putting out there. And like, I perform these songs sometimes, I'm just like, I don't feel this way anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not like, I don't have Xanax in my pocket anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah. I do a podcast and I have people on. That's like more my persona.
Yeah.
It's more honest. It's more sincere. I can be wacky. I can do different things. Music is like so constrained, and you know, not to shit on anybody specifically, but there's a certain thing about like hanging out. Not all the not all rappers are like, you know, the kind of people that I would necessarily like hang out with. Yeah. Like they're fine. Like, you know, they're good people. I respect them. They're, you know, they're good musicians, but like, I just don't vibe with them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like a homebody. I like to, you know, they're just certain people that I click with, and most people I just don't, you know.
Dude, I totally understand. Like, I mean, like, I play in a punk band. I spend a lot of time in the punk community. And I don't necessarily identify myself as a punk, though. Like, based on like the people around, I'm like, you know, nothing against them. Like you said, like I'm not calling them to hang out with them, though. Unfortunately,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
They're cool people, but like, I'm not gonna be shaving my head into a mohawk and doing the punk stuff, you know, because there's people that take it very seriously.
Yeah,
but I guess maybe I don't take much seriously. Maybe that's where I'm going. You know, I don't know, like.
You know, I'd sometimes consider myself like a nihilist and an absurdist. You know, how serious can you take some things? You know,
that's true. I mean. But I'm sure you're also like me in the sense where you take some stuff too seriously, and then in retrospect, you're like, whoops, like I took that way too seriously, like, and it didn't matter one bit at all. So
yeah, it's easy for me to like kind of like internally be like, just logically like, okay, that's the conclusion of what's happening right now, versus like stepping back and be like, okay, let's analyze this situation from a non-biased perspective.
Yeah.
See what's going on.
It's so tough to do that. It's like, it sucks when you do that when you're like growing up and you start to realize like the mistakes you made while you're growing up, like, you know, and like one of the things I think was like, I didn't play guitar for a while just because I didn't think I was good, but like obviously like if you're not good you should play it more and then you'll get better. Like it's that way with everything, like literally everything in life. Like the more you do anything, you're better at it. Like I don't care if it's like cooking or like getting ready for work, it does not matter. Like you get better the more you do it. So
exactly, I think I would say impossible to like get worse at something the more you do it.
Yeah,
I don't really think it's possible. I think you would have to like really put in effort to not be better,
or be in like the wrong frame of mind. Like
yeah. Well, I mean, you know, people have bad days, but like, you know, still progressively, if you tried something, like for me, like reading, like I just, you know, like I'm not illiterate or anything, but I just sometimes I have a hard time like just sitting down and reading a book because my mind wanders. So you know, I try to do like 10 pages a day, and like the other day I did 2 pages. Like, you know, I was like, I felt like an idiot afterwards. But you know, you try every day, and then sometimes I do 15, 20 pages. Sometimes read the whole book. You know, trying. That's the key. Persistence.
I used to read on my lunch breaks at work. Now my lunch breaks are super short, and I don't have that luxury. But when I had long lunch breaks, I used to do that. Just bring a book with and just like read some of it. But I'm just like you, where I'd be like reading, and then I'd get to a part where I'd be like, wait, what happened? And then I'd like have to like flip back a page and be like, oh, I just read all this and didn't process a single bit of it, you know. So my mind must have been somewhere else while I was reading it.
Yeah, I think I'm at the point now where I've realized that there's way too many books for me to like, you know, try to do that. So if I'm at a point in a book and somebody doesn't, I'm like, fuck it, just move ahead.
Yeah.
See what happens. I might be confused at the end, but it's like, all right, I did it. I feel good that I finished the book.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I'm also reading like it's called 21st. Was an Evolutionary Lens Guide to the 21st Century. It's by Brett Weinstein, Heather Hine. They're like
yes,
evolutionary. Oh, you're familiar?
Yes, yeah, I absolutely love me some Weinsteins. Dude, not the Weinstein, you know, or Weinstein, not Weinstein. But yeah, him and his brother are really good. They've both been on.
Eric is a smart motherfucker, man.
Yeah,
he's a genius. Like both those guys are just, you know, phenomenal.
I can't remember which one of them it was, but they like picked up a guitar for the first time during COVID because they had all this free time on their hand, and now they can play like Stevie Ray Vaughan
stuff.
That was
Eric.
It's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm mad at you now. But whatever, I guess. You know?
Yeah, Eric's. You know, he's a smart guy, but he's kind of weird. I remember he would do during the pandemic. He would do these like walks, and he would just like go on YouTube Live and like start chatting with people and be like, you know, going off of whatever's going on. You know, he's been kind of quiet lately, though. He's been kind of just chilling.
Yeah, I mean, I know they both kind of got into some controversial waters, like kind of discussing topics.
Brett is just in it all the time, you know?
Yeah.
Those two are just at it constantly.
Yeah, there's a handful of those type of like instigator people on the internet that actually have like a lot of credentials to be the person that they are, and I actually like used to follow a lot of them, and then for a while it was just like my whole brain process was aimed towards that, where I was just like trying to argue. Yeah, nice. Oh man, so like a lot of people would, I just get online and I just get mad at people and I just want to try and do what they're doing, and then I had to like stop following them all the time because it just like brought up too much angst in my brain every time I get online, you know. And and it's nothing.
I have that same problem, man.
There's nothing wrong with society and stuff, but you know, it's weird that like you can get online and disagree with so many people so vehemently, but then you can like interact with them every day in your life other than going online. It's just like, I like this person, they're a great person, but then you like go online and you're like, why are you just... It's so weird that you said one thing online and I disagreed with it so much that now I'm like weirded out by it, you know, like... But so I just have to ignore a lot of what I see online.
Well, like, yeah, you know, and like going back to like what we were talking about, like confused breakfast, like doing the social, like I have a really hard time like with my social media presence. Mm-hmm. Like I don't want to get into it too much, but hopefully we're making some moves here in the future where that stuff's going to improve, because I know people who are like actually good with that.
Oh, nice.
I'm not one of those people.
Yep.
But I think my problem is like I'm not in tune. I feel like I find out about things too late, like the trends and like the memes and like what I feel like an old man sometimes. Like it's just like too slow. Like I'm moving too slow. Like I think, you know, like I'm Canada compared to the US, you know. I find out things too late.
Yep. The fashion up there is still like a bowling alley in the 70s. No.
I don't know. Have you been to Canada?
Yeah, I actually really, really enjoyed Canada.
Damn. Well, what part did you go?
I drove up to Winnipeg with a buddy, and we like camped for 7 days across Canada until we got to like Toronto pretty much at the end, and we saw like Niagara Falls and stuff. We had debated going around all of the Great Lakes and coming back, but we did not. So, yeah.
Do you still go camping and stuff?
Not as much as I used to. Like, you know, playing music obviously takes up a lot of time, and and as much as I don't want to admit it, like podcasting takes up a lot of time. Like trying to find enough guests and like get back to all the guests and scheduling. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
it's tough. I mean, like we were going to schedule this one day and then we had to reschedule it because you know it just wouldn't work that day. So it's just the way it works, you know. And you know, I recorded one earlier today and then drove here, you know, and I'm
that's commitment, man.
Yeah,
you're working.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's funny when people are just like, how come you don't do blah 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 on the weekends? It's like, I'm busy, I'm sorry. Like on the way down here I was thinking about it, like if I just sat down and thought about it, like I'm busy like 4 nights a week and 5 days a week, you know. Sometimes even like 5 and 5. So because I give guitar lessons and I play.
I forgot about that.
I play at a jam night every Tuesday in Barnum, so I got to plug that. I talk about it all the time, but every Tuesday there's like a jam night and people just go up there and singer-songwriters play, and if you play guitar, you can just play along with them and just hop up and switch in and out, and everybody just kind of has a good time and just playing random songs. So like, you know, then you go podcasting and playing a couple shows, and that's 5 nights a week. I'm busy, you know, so I don't have too much free time, but you know, at least I'm like kind of think I'm being productive in my free time, maybe. Like I don't know, like I'm doing stuff.
Fuck yeah, man. But I'm telling you, man. Like the people that do hip hop show, that like nobody does that. Like nobody's doing shit like 5 nights a week for, you know, like giving lessons and shit. That's nuts, man. Yeah, you're doing a lot. It's fucking impressive.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think maybe it's just because I'm doing it that I don't necessarily think too much about it.
I feel that. Like I get the same thing with this podcast. Like a lot of people come in and say like, no man, what you're doing is fucking crazy, and I'm just like I feel like just like a jackass, like like just you're on a mic, like just being antagonistic, you know.
Dude, I totally get that too. Like it's weird taking the compliment, but it's also like I probably should just take the compliment, you know, because like that's something I need to work on. But like. It is a good service for people. Like I bet there's a lot of hip hop people that know that you have the podcast, that it exists, maybe have collaborated with others that have been on the podcast, etc. So like that's what it should be used for. You know, my podcast has been used for that. The reason I talked about the Barnum Jam is because I mentioned it so much on the podcast that people have driven up from like 3 hours plus away to come to like Barnum, Iowa, which has a population of like 80 people, maybe, like to on a Tuesday night to do a jam. You know, it's just like cool, you know, and you know, it's crazy because there's people that go to these jams, and sometimes you might get booked at a show somewhere, maybe, you know, or you never know what's going to happen. You never know it's just wild. That's one reason I like going to them. But, you know, people value what we do, whether or not we realize that it has the value that it does, you know.
So here's my question. How do you have time to do all that and watch 9 seasons of King of the Hill?
It's called not sleeping well.
Sorry, not to get too personal, but like, how many hours of sleep do you get at night?
It's weird. So like, I'll do this like really weird accordion thing where I'll sleep like 3 or 4 hours a night for like 4 or 5 days, and then it's just
what?
And so like, if I play a show Friday night and they don't have another show till Saturday night, it's just like, okay, I can fit like 14 hours of sleep in here, and then I'll like do that. And so then I literally will like just sleep for like 14 hours straight because you've shorted yourself so much previously. It's probably not a healthy and good thing to do.
I could never do that, man.
But
holy shit.
But you know, like, and that's just some of that comes from just having all that scheduled out. Where it's just like, I scheduled all this stuff out. I got to do it. You know, I can't say no to anybody because might not like me or whatever. You know, like I gotta be a people pleaser. Hey, will you volunteer for? Yes, I will. Very much so. Tell me where to be. You know, so. But.
Damn, man. That's not. I can't believe that you. Like, I spend too much time like playing fucking video games and like jacking around doing nothing, you know.
I do my fair share of that, but it's usually like late at night when everyone's sleeping, so
yeah,
that's like my only option. But I used to play a lot of video games, and then at one point in my life I was just like, I have to quit playing video games because it's taking up so much of my time that it does not leave me enough time to do the other stuff that I want to do. And so like, I looked at like the reward synopsis of like what I thought to me would be more valuable, and it's like, well, I guess in my free time I'm watching, you know, I'm rewatching Seinfeld for the 9th time, you know, like instead of playing Call of Duty or whatever everyone else is doing. And it's like, which one's better? I don't know, probably none of it. Like, I probably should like take like the actual free time I have and like maybe sleep or do something actually productive. But
yeah, well, and I'm always trying to keep productivity in mind myself, like, because that's like the thing. Like, I know people who stream, and like, I not bashing them all. Like, I'm glad that they do it and like they have success with that. But like, I cannot imagine what it's like to spend 5-6 hours a day playing a video game.
Oh, it'd be rough. Like,
you know, you would be shot all the time. I mean, maybe it's because I don't drink energy drinks. Maybe that's the problem. But like, I don't understand how these people just like, you know, chug energy drinks and just like get that into it. I don't know.
I don't want to call it out too much, but the weird thing about that is I view that as somewhat adjacent to like, and this is where, if my mom's listening, quit listening. It's kind of like, I compare that a little bit to like the cam girl situation. I feel like it's kind of the same deal where like somebody that wants to watch a certain thing is watching it, and this person is also there narrating it. So you can kind of like message them and just be like, it's cool, or like, you should have passed it on that down. You know, we're watching somebody play Madden or whatever the hell, you know.
Yeah.
You can give them coins and rewards and all this other nonsense. It's just like, this is a little odd, you know, like to me.
There's a lot of similarities in that. I feel like those two markets are. I feel like there's some secret alliance, you know, where they're somehow connected.
I think
I feel like people are hopping on either one, you know. They're on Twitch for a little bit, then they're on Chatterbait, you know.
Yeah.
They're just
I think back and forth. It could just be they found the same formula and it worked for them, you know, like.
Well, that's another thing. Like the porn stars who are like have Twitch accounts, you know, these porn stars just go on Twitch and they play video games all day, and like they make money that way too.
That absolutely blows my mind. But like, at the same rate,
it's insane. They're literally just marketing themselves. Like they have become a product.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I can't believe that people spend as much money as they do on certain things that they do. But there's so many people, I bet, that look at me. They're like, yeah, how much money do you spend on like guitar strings or gas or like whatever the hell I'm doing? Like, why would you watch Seinfeld for a 9th time? That's the dumbest thing, you know. Like, so.
But I feel like spending money on those things is way better and healthier for you than like throwing money at a Camel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Like to each his own to an extent, but like I think objectively, like one is like you're like working to like achieve something, and then another is just you're simping.
Yeah.
You know? There's a big difference.
Yeah, I guess like the other end of that is like if somebody has achieved what they want to achieve and that's what they want to go for, like
true.
Then in their mind they're winning and doing the right thing. So I also have a hard time when I grow up. It's like I realize how many mistakes I made in life, and I still don't know if anybody knows the exact right way to do things 100% in life is, because every situation is so different. So like I have a hard time judging people when they're doing things too, like when I sit down and like really think about it. And it sucks because like I grew up like so confident that like what I thought was correct, and now I like grow up and it's like I don't know if I have an opinion on like anything anymore. You know, like it kind of sucks because I start to see things from both sides of the coin. I think some of that's just because I've had like, you know, I've led like two different kind of like weird lives in my life. I feel like when I finally started like mature, it was just like a completely different set of things happened, you know. So
I see. Yeah, you and I differ in that.
Well, I'm very younger than me.
That's true. How old are you?
30. What? 4 this year. 34.
Yeah, so 8 years.
Yeah. Yep. So
that's true. Yeah. I have heard that like in your 30s, you know, people tend to chill out, but there are also like people in their 30s that are fucking maniacs. You know?
Yeah, but some of those people I've found out were like super chill their entire lives. You know, so I think some of it is just where you're at in your life and like what's happened to you before. Obviously, like, oh, that's you know, that's how psychologists view it too, because that's basic psychology. But like, what's happened to you in your life is, you know, kind of leads you down a path to where you're gonna be. You know, and it's I don't know. It's weird to grow up and like when I first started, like even through music, like when you grow up through music, it's just like the first couple times you're playing, you're just like you're just first now finding your voice and how to play along to certain things, and you're so scared that people are going to judge you and things like that that you don't want to go out there and play. And now it's not like I'm fearless, but I've figured out like what phrases I like to play where and what happens, and I can kind of take command of a song, or I can kind of lean back and let some other people, you know, take the helm, and I don't have to be the person that's the focal point of anything. Even though I'm playing a solo, I can just make it super simple and let somebody else be the shining star of the song, you know, or whatever. So
yeah, exactly. I feel like a lot of it's just confidence.
Yeah, and
you know.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that's one. I think that's one area where I'm like pretty confident is playing off the cuff. I have more fun doing that with like. That's where like jam nights where it's just like, is there a solo in this part? And it's like, okay, there's an open set. I'll start playing some solo. And it's like, you can make songs longer or shorter than they should be, or you can stretch the solo section out twice as long, or, you know, you can play like Can't You See and add a solo between every verse, and all of a sudden that song's 9 minutes long, you know, or whatever. Bass solo, you know, whatever.
Yeah, you and I are a lot different in that aspect too. I'm very like I like things planned. I think that's why I like, you know, when I do music, I like being a hip hop artist because, you know, I have my bars. It's straightforward. Like I never like go up and freestyle or anything like that. I've never done that in public forum. I wouldn't. And you know, like if they're not my beats, they're at least like edited and constructed in a way where like it's like set and planned. Yeah. Like I give the set, you know, I give the guy the beats and the set list. I'm like, play him this order, and he does his thing, you know.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, like, it's more hip hop is more conducive to that. Like in the punk band I play, there's not really like that's all exactly like what you're saying. It's everything's planned out. You have to play these notes at exactly this time, and everything's, you know, fast forward, run downhill music. But I mean, you saw us play live. Like at the end, for some reason, we just like to play whatever, you know. So we start to like jam out, and that's where we like show you that like we can also play freeform kind of stuff where we don't just play off the cuff and see what happens. So like. I've heard people say, like, I didn't know that jam you guys did wasn't, like, 100% planned out. And it's like, yeah, it's different every time because we just play whatever we want to play. So, but, like, I found a love for that, going to all these jam nights and playing along with other people. And it's afforded me a lot of good opportunities. I've got to fill in for other musicians. I've showed up to shows and people pull me on stage to play leads for a couple songs, you know, and things like that. So it's kind of fun when you have the ability to do that and people... you know, have confidence in you to pull it off well. It's like, this is awesome. You know, I'm super glad I get the, you know, opportunity to do this. And, you know, I live in like a really supportive area musically. Like I don't know. I guess like if you listen to my podcast, it's like a broken record when I talk about this, but it's one of the most supportive music areas. You know, everybody is collaborating with one another, helping each other write music, promote each other, talking about things. If somebody books a show somewhere, they're like, you would like these other people that play in my area. Like nobody's selfish about it at all, which is amazing. You know, it's really cool. So, you know, hats off to them. It's not something I've experienced a whole lot of in the music scene. A lot of people they want to be heard, and obviously, you know, everybody wants to be heard, but it's tough to go out there and be selfish about wanting to be heard, you know, because if you lift somebody else up, they're going to lift you up usually, you know.
Yeah. Well, the hip-hop scene in Des Moines is a different story, I think.
Well, I mean, your music's also conducive to that, though, too. Though.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
I feel like almost having some sort of, you know, I want to say like an issue, but having some sort of tension between two artists can actually create bigger things for you in that, you know, in that sense.
Yeah,
so it could be a good thing too, you know.
No, it definitely it like I think like a competitive environment is like a good thing in a sense. Like it obviously in doses. Like I don't think you should like live in that necessarily, but like I think there is like a healthy. There can be like a healthy balance with like hip hop and like, you know, there's like there's a guy, Crazy Baby, I've had him on the podcast. He runs this like underground, like kind of like the Eminem, you know, battle type of deal. But it's not like with the beat, and it's like, you know, it's pre-written, it's not really freestyle, but like, you know, these people just like spend like a month, you know, writing like 16 bars of like, you know, basically fuck you, and then they just get in their face, and like, you know, sometimes tension gets there, but then they like, you know, they're cool, they're friends. You know, it's kind of like comedy, like people like you know, they do a roast, they roast each other. It's a very similar thing, I feel like, in hip-hop. I feel like when I'm hanging out with guys like rappers, like we can always like talk shit and just, you know, fuck around, poke at each other a little bit, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't spend any time in that community, but like I also understand, like, just based on the music and like the past stories of hip hop and rap and things like that, and what's happened, you know. So I think it'd be fun, like, if some people created like some fake beef that like didn't even exist.
Oh, that happens all the time, man.
Yeah, like even on a local level, does it happen locally?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's fake beef, but like recently I kind of had something similar to that happen. I had these lyrics that were construed as racist, and they weren't really racist. What I was talking about was how there was a time where, you know, I feel like when I was growing up in a small town, I maybe was, you know, closed-minded, and I didn't really appreciate people of other cultures. And as I've progressed and, you know, grown up, I've you know, that's not the case anymore. So that was like what I was describing. And basically what this individual was upset about was that we were supposed to do some recording on my project, and basically he just kept dropping, and then he kept like not showing up to the recording sessions, which was costing me money, and then he like just didn't want to do it. He went to the session about to record, then just got there. He was like, I don't want to do it because of those lyrics, which to an extent, yes, I probably should have had that conversation with him, and we kind of did, but I mean, I understand him being uncomfortable with it, but also he just did me dirty. Like he just went about in a way that was just shitty. So we had podcasts coming up, and I'm like, you know, I don't want to have you in the podcast. Like if you're gonna jerk me around like this, like how am I supposed to like do an interview with you in 2 weeks when like I'm like fucking pissed at you? You know, so it was just that. I'm just like, I'm sorry, we're not doing a podcast. So then his response was to get him and 5 of his goons and fucking go on Facebook and just, you know, basically berate me. I had memes made out of me. One was actually pretty funny. It was I had my like priest outfit. It was like POV like professing you were like once racist or something. That one was pretty funny, but yeah, man, it was brutal.
Oh, that's rough. Yeah, I haven't been. I don't know. I just don't get involved with that kind of stuff.
You're pretty, and you know that's what I like about your podcast. You're pretty simple. I'm the crazy motherfucker who's like has all these goes on these crazy tangents and conversations, and like, you know, I definitely am not. I'm not soft spoken by any means, and if you listen to my, you know, hip hop music, that's clear. That's obvious.
I just spent so much of my life having such a strong opinion that now I'm just like, I don't care. Like,
I'm waiting for that day.
So I was in a band with some people, and like I'm not gonna call out the band. It'll be obvious if they listen, but like 2 people always showed up late to everything, and then one day they showed up late and they bitched to each other about who parked where, and they were just like wanted me to have an opinion on it so bad that like one of the guys was just like, dude, we'll kick you out of the band if you don't. And I was just like, over a fucking parking spot? Like, you're gonna kick me out of the band over not having an opinion on who parked in the right spot? Like, good luck finding somebody else that wants to fucking replace me.
Yeah,
like, who's gonna want to deal with this shit?
You guys are insane.
Yeah. And so like that's the kind of stuff where I feel like, as dumb as that argument was, I feel like most arguments are that dumb. So it's like, why are we arguing? Like, why do we have to fight and yell at each other's faces and stuff? Like,
and mine was fucking dumb too. He literally, and you know, that was the thing. Like, he had his friend call me. We had this big conversation, and like one of the things that he told me that really pissed me off, he was like, because I was white, I wasn't able to talk about that. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking? Like, that's still my experience. It doesn't matter what the fuck the color of my skin is. Like, I'm an artist.
That's true.
I understand. I understand where he's coming from, the social construct, but like, you know, in my opinion, fuck that. Like, that's my experience. I'm talking about it. I'm not talking shit about black people or whatever people of color. I'm just literally just talking about my experience. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess if people don't know the whole story, then it's a little tougher. But like, I can't believe somebody would get mad at you for like saying, at one point in my life I was sheltered and now I am not as sheltered and I understand the world a little bit better.
Exactly. And like, that's my point, is like you talk about the argument being ridiculous. This was as ridiculous.
Yeah.
Essentially, if you really break it down. Like, I have plenty of friends that are plenty different cultures. I went to them with this. I explained, like, and they're like, no, like, this guy is just full of shit.
Well, you know, I mean, and everyone's allowed to have their own opinion, but
sure. But like, it is just clear to me that they don't have an actual opinion. If they were actually upset about what I said, they would have tried to have a conversation with me. He did not once try to message me and be like, hey homie, like, what are you talking about here? Like, let's have a conversation about it. He went to the fucking internet immediately. Like, it literally says in his profile, I'm a shit talker before the count. Like, this is just his whole thing. Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. And I mean, I used to do that stuff too, but like, I was also like young and stupid, and like Facebook just came out, and you know, you gotta think about like things like that. Like, before everyone knew as much as they did about the internet, you know, that's when I was more rambunctious. But
yeah,
the internet was also like the Wild West back in the day. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you were, you know, being the age difference, I can imagine you were just in that fucking heyday, that prime of the Wild West, like you said.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Nothing cost money. Like, that's the internet, man. It was wild. It was absolutely wild. So
yeah, it was true. It was a true like example of like freedom. I feel like, you know, like a present memory of like, we can be like, oh my gosh, you could just do anything. You know, the good and the bad of it. Like, you just it was what it was. You know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know. The internet has changed a lot, and it's funny because like I was talking about, what website was I talking about? Rotten.com to somebody, and they were like, "What's that?" And I'm like, Rotten.com, like, do you know what it is?
No.
Oh man, so like that's the age difference. Was like I grew up on the internet before like Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and like a lot of news sites and things like that. You know, so there was a handful of websites everyone could go to, and Rotten.com was just like gross pictures of stupid stuff. Like some guy like trying to weightlift too much and prolapse. Like, it's just like
kind of like 4chan.
I don't know.
Never been on 4chan.
No, I see. Like, that's the thing. I don't just subscribe to much of that stuff anymore today because it's just too much. Like, my brain can't handle it.
4chan is it's not even up anymore, I don't think. But yeah, or maybe it is. But like yeah.
But this was literally just the stupidest shit ever on the internet. It's just like, check this out. You know, like I said, you know, somebody weightlifting a prolapse, and here's a picture of it. It's like, why would you put that on the internet? But like, that's what this website was dedicated to. It was like the stupidest shit ever.
That's the beauty of it, though. You know?
And I mean, like, I think it still exists in some capacity, so it's still there.
Yeah.
But you know, there's like all those different websites, and people are just like, what? And it's like, I wonder what people would do, like, if you sat down at a computer and were just like, you can't go YouTube, Facebook, and just like deleted like the big ones. You know, it's like you could take like 5 websites and delete them, and people would be like, I don't know what to do with the internet.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, they would like like not want to engage with it because it'd be too much work to like you know, search through things and like go through websites. Like there was a time where people looked at the internet like they looked at an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
You know, like it was just like a index of information. And now it's like an entirely different virtual world, essentially.
Yeah, it's it's absolutely wild.
And it's so quick too. That's the thing that like really trips me up. Like, 21 years ago was 9/11, and like, let alone thinking about that, but like just thinking about like, like having Game Boys and like, how us talking about like how the internet computers were. Like, it's just so crazy to think about. It's crazy to think about, post or pre-pandemic, how that was.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Sometimes
honestly.
you just sit and think, you're like, holy shit. Like it's hard to, sometimes it gets hard. It's hard to like imagine what that was like. I was pretty close and like, getting close to normal, but it'll never fully be gone. I think it's just ingrained permanently in culture.
I think one of my favorite things that COVID is kind of like, that whole time span is kind of like preserved in my head is just like, I kind of do like having a little bit of space, like, so when you're at the register and like somebody's like right at your shoulder, it's like, dude, just back it up a little bit, please. Like, COVID or not, I don't want anybody that close to me. I don't care. Oh, just Jesus, and like, I just feel that way about a lot of things. So it's just, I just hope people take the good practices away. So it's just like, yeah, you probably should wash your hands a little bit more than you do or whatever, like, wash your hands after you poop. There's people that don't do that kind of crap. And it's like, what are you doing, people? Like, it just kind of exposes you to how stupid everyone is out in the world. But at the same rate, like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like,
exactly.
There's a lot of goofy things that went on that I like, I didn't understand, like, how a lot of it, like, the whole thing was just like such a mess, and it's so wild. Like, I can't believe that we're gonna have the stories to tell where it's like, for a while they delivered liquor to my house. Like, I could order a drink from the bar and the guy would mix it and drive it to my house in a container with a lid on it. It's like,
you could you could physically yourself drive to the bar, get a to-go drink, put it in your car and drive home.
Yeah, and it was literally like a plastic cup with like a straw lid in it. Like,
literally, there would be no difference between you drinking it and not drinking it.
Yeah, and that was technically legal for a while. I mean, like, I did know some bars where they had a traveling bar where it's like you called the bar, but they actually just called the guy's cell phone, and you're just like, I live here, I want drinks poured, and he showed up with like a pile of liquor and just poured you a whole bunch of drinks, and it's like, I don't know if that was like technically legal because he's technically driving around with open containers, but like,
yeah,
if they could do delivery drinks, then why not? So I don't know. Like, that's where the thing where it's like, once they like...
It was a huge gray area for like 9 months or
yeah,
whatever.
the whole entire world's been a gray area for like 9 months. It's so wild. Like...
Well, the whole... Yeah. I mean, and everything. It just... Ever since it started, it just... Yeah. But, they're... Just, not to get on that tangent, like, the science or whatever, but there is something at least to like general... Like you said, like general awareness. Like being careful about being sick. Like, just be like, I remember, pre-pandemic, like calling in sick, there'd always be like the people would be pissed at you, or like, you judge you for like being, maybe faking it, and your boss would be. Now it's like, please stay. Like, there's just a general, even if it's overhyped, I think that in some senses that's, in a lot of sense, that's better to like have for everybody, just be generally aware of viruses and getting sick and everything, being careful.
I was always that way though too. Like,
yeah.
The worst part about it was some jobs would be like, you need a doctor's note. It's like, yeah, but what if I'm just sick with something and I don't need to go to the doctor for it? You still want me to go spend my money to go see a doctor to get a note? So you're like double losing money on days off just to have a day off, or whatever. But yeah. I mean, that's,
Well, that's another aspect of it too. Like, people who like that, like, that's kind of the flip side of it. Like, people who like have jobs where like they literally cannot afford to be sick. Like, they won't make rent if they're sick for 5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incomes working from home, like I was super sick maybe like a month or so ago. Let's see about a month ago. It was like right before Christmas.
Was it COVID or unrelated?
I never got tested because like if I don't play a show, I just sit at home for the most part nowadays. So, and I was doing podcasts remotely. I think that was the week I skipped a week because I wasn't feeling well and I didn't even want to do like a remote one. But yeah, so like I ended up like taking a day off work, and I work remotely, so like I didn't even have to go anywhere, and my job is not like based over a phone, so I can do work just sitting there not talking to anybody if I don't want to. So I took a day off, and I think I even canceled a couple shows like around that time because it's just like, I probably shouldn't go out even though I'm feeling better today or whatever. But I've always kind of been like that, and it's kind of weird, like you said, some people have jobs where they can't afford to take a day off, and some people have jobs where the job sucks and they won't let you take a day off.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, like, not only do I not get to make money today, but I have to go to the doctor, and I don't feel good, and I just have to like have them sign a note that says I'm sick to bring it to my boss, like they're my parent or something, you know, like I don't know.
Like we're all adults here, you know.
Yeah, let's try and act like it a little bit, please. But not every job functions that way. But that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's another road to travel down. Cheapers.
Yeah, that is life, isn't it, unfortunately. I have a question, and obviously we're not like, you know, talking shit or whatever. But like I'm just curious because like I find that like when I do podcast, they talk about having podcasts with rappers on, like it always doesn't always translate like being a good, you know, hip hop artist is like they're gonna be a good podcast guest. Like do you ever like how do you find your guests, and like do you ever like I don't know, have you ever like run into that where like not obviously not talking shit about people, but like just like in general, do you ever find that?
Yeah, 100%. So I have had bad podcasts. Some of it is just it's tough to converse with people. Other times it's the people aren't good interviewers. Other times it's I didn't ask the right questions. So there's a little bit of everything. But like I had a guy like chew gum and
damn, for real?
Like play guitar through the entire interview. Like I'd like ask a question and he'd like look up from playing guitar and he'd be like, yeah, I don't know. And then you like go back and it's like, geez, this guy really doesn't care or whatever.
I want to watch that one.
It exists. It's out there. And it's actually not a horrible interview, but it feels very impersonable. Like, you know, well, because like I do video as well, but my video is only on Patreon and I put clips out. So I had to like find a 3-minute clip that wasn't him ignoring me, you know? So, but that's, I mean, it is what it is. Some people are better at interviewing than others. And I like every interview situation is different. Like I do video, so I have to have some sort of like a place like this to sit or do it remotely. So I have to record them at home, and maybe they're just like sitting there and they like don't know what to do with their hands, so they decided to play guitar, you know? So like I get it, but like I've had people that don't like to talk much that are like some of the most talented people, and I've had people on the podcast like once and it wasn't good and another time and it was amazing. So it's tough to say who it is and like whether or not they might be having a good day or whether or not they might have something they want to talk about or whatever. I'm getting better at like filling in time for them, but it's also very tough to try to solicit responses out of people that aren't very responsive. So, I have like the lucky thing about me is I've got like 50 plus people in like my peer group where I live. So I can kind of know people and who likes to talk about what and things like that. And, I kind of know what they have going on, and I kind of remember like where we were at the last time we talked on the podcast, if that's the case. And I can kind of like bring them in. So it's like last time we talked about this. So what are you doing with this now? You know? So push the envelope that way. So I'm getting a little bit better at conversing that way. But
yeah, I've definitely noticed some progression from you. Like there's a difference, you know, like from when I first met you to now. In like, yeah, I feel like I've done the same thing. Like that's just like it's like we said, like doing it over and over again. Like eventually you just maneuver like that. Yeah, if I had a guy show up with gum, though, that would be a 15-minute episode. Though.
Yeah.
All right, you know.
Reminds me of a Seinfeld bit, actually. No, it really actually does. But yeah, he says everybody that's chewing gum, they look like they're like not impressed, or like it looks so hokey. Like, oh yeah, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Yeah, is that real? Yeah, yeah. Oh, I bet he did. Really, teacher? Yep. You know, just chewing on his gum or whatever. So it's just like it does look pretty hokey. It looks like they're just not impressed, you know. Yeah. So
have you heard of the H3 podcast? It's like Ethan and Hila Klein. I can't stand them. I don't recommend it. But like they will like order pizza and like they'll just like eat pizza on the podcast. I'm like, what the fuck? Like I know there's like the whole like mukbang, like there's a whole internet fetish for that, but like come on, that's just that like it's like you said, like I think it's just shitty to like, I mean, I don't know. I did have a guest one time like with like crackers and like it was like his jam that he made from his garden and like we ate a little bit, like you know, I'd probably maybe a little more.
Yeah, it's understandable if you do something like that, but it is a little weird. Like obviously that's some people's avenue when you go like really weird into the ASMR realm, you know, but like there's this kid, he's like one of the most talented people that comes at the jam night, and he's only been playing bass guitar like 2 years, but he's so wildly talented, and he's just a young guy. I think he's under 18 still, and For anyone that doesn't know, his name's Owen, but he'll like go up there and he'll play like all these weird like jazzy bass things and play all these leads and crazy stuff like all by himself. Maybe a drummer's playing with him, and he'll just do like ASMR spoken word stuff on the mic at jam nights if nobody goes up to play stuff. And it's just like, if nobody plays, Owen's gonna get up there and he's just gonna be like, ooh. And he's just like doing that, like just, and it's like the weirdest part about it is by the time he gets done playing, you're like, that was actually pretty good. If that was on like some weirdo jazz album, I'd probably buy it to listen to that song, you know. And it's like every time he does it, it's just like, damn you, Owen. I don't know why that was good, but it was good.
You ever see the movie Frank?
No.
Have you heard of it? You should look it up. It's about this guy that joins a band, and there's this like fucking like train wreck of a guy who wears this big head, like machete head, and they're in like this really bizarre band, and they make like weird noises like that. Like like talking about that, you should watch that movie. They do the whole thing where like they go to a cabin, like they record it, and they're just like doing all this really weird shit, and like the whole time you're just like, what the hell's going on? That's like wild. The music is just so bizarre and out there. Like,
I think there's something to that, because like I found that a lot of people that are like super professionally trained as musicians, that's like music for musicians. So like music for the rest of us is there. It's kind of like comedy for comedians. So like when they're backstage, they're ripping on each other and saying some crazy stuff. Yeah, but that they would never say on a microphone ever, not on a podcast, not anywhere.
Well, that might not be true for everybody.
Well, I think like Doug Stanhope would be like a good example of a comedian's comedian. So he talks about stuff that like he shouldn't talk about, and makes it funny, and it might offend people while he does it. So like that'd be a good example of somebody that does that kind of stuff. So I feel like jazz musicians are those people for like actual musicians. So like the rest of us, it's like, oh, you're playing a 1-4-5 progression, cool. You know, it's all blues and E minor, woo woo woo. You know, like all the same stuff that we get to use over and over again. That's always like the formulas that get used in music. And then somebody comes out there and starts playing that weirdo stuff, and you're like, I don't know what they're doing, but it's crazy. There's noises coming out of everything that I've never heard before. So.
Yeah. Have you? I used to play jazz guitar. Have you ever played jazz guitar?
No, not well. I mean,
I'm kidding. No, I could not play that to save my life these days. Oh my god.
Oh, it's hilarious. That is so funny.
No, I did play a little bit in college though. That's some crazy. It's some, they just like give you piano sheet music. Yeah. Like they literally are just like, all right, here, figure it out. I'm like, this isn't even a guitar part.
Yeah. Yep.
And they don't give you like chords. They don't give you like the hardest part is like taking the notes and putting them on your guitar in a way where you can do it.
You can actually put your fingers down and do it. Yeah. Yeah, that's the toughest thing about guitar, but it's also like one of the things I think is the most fun about guitar, because it's just like there's like a zillion ways to make the same chords with different fingerings, and they all use basically the same notes, but they all have different textures. So that's kind of what it makes it, unique. Piano would obviously be the biggest one of those to be able to do that, where it's like you can really stretch it out and start playing some crazy stuff. But
yeah, I've been listening to a lot of Chet Baker lately. Have you heard of him? Mm-mm. That guy was fucking nuts. He was big in like the 40s and 50s. He was a heroin addict, and he actually got his 2 front teeth knocked. He's a trumpet player. He got his 2 front teeth knocked out in a bad deal, and like he like couldn't play trumpet for like 10 years, and he like had to like pick it up, and like it never sounded the same essentially. But he was like one of the most talented guys. Like there was such like a raw time in the 40s through the 60s and 70s where jazz was just like dark, gritty, but like just people were fucking passionate and talented, and there was such a. Have you seen Whiplash?
No.
Wow, my gosh, that is a movie like every musician should be required to watch that movie. Were you ever like in band or anything like that? Yeah. So you'd be able to relate. Like just like everyone that has done that kind of stuff has had like that hard ass crazy teacher who just has like these insane standards. And J.K. Simmons is just like a fucking nut. There's a part where he takes a chair and throws it at him because he's like on time,
Yes.
And it's like I'm sure you've like seen memes for it and shit.
Maybe. I don't know.
It's J.K. I can't remember the kid, but J.K. Simmons, the guy who plays Spider-Man's boss. Peter Parker's boss.
Okay, all right, yeah,
Yeah.
I think I know that is.
Anyways, look it up. Whiplash. It's a really good.
All right, yeah, definitely. I'm so bad with movies and like knowing famous people and stuff. Like I quit carrying around like 2000. It was just like it's just too much new stuff coming out. I don't know.
2000?
Yeah.
Damn. You're ahead of the game, bro.
Yeah, but like when I got to high school,
smart.
dude, when I was in high school, I was listening to like 80s music. I was plowing through that stuff. I was going backwards through time because like I grew up with like kind of older parents, so like I got to listen to like, you know, like Roy Orbison and things like that. And there's nothing against that because like Roy Orbison as a musician is still one of my favorite musicians. But
Oh, he was a genius, like structurally.
yeah, he just structured the songs super weird. You know, the songs aren't like A B A B C A B, you know, or like the typical formulas that everybody uses. He would use like A B C D E A B, and it's like, what are you doing? Like writing like 6 parts to a song or something, and then like not repeating any of them until the end, and then you just like repeat the first part again or something. And so
Yeah.
you know, he was really good at doing goofy stuff like that. He was just like, it just sounds good. It's like, oh
Yeah. Like Pretty Woman, like that that lick, that opening lick is such a weird, like if you actually like play it on the guitar, like struck like position wise, you're like, this is kind of odd, like, you know.
Yeah. You know, and that's just, he just thought that like in his head this is what it should sound like, and he just threw most of music theory out the window. And so
that's kind of the ironic thing about it, right? It's like I feel like the people who are really the greatest when it comes to like music, like a lot of times they do that same very thing. They throw all the rules out the window.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense in music though too. Like
I mean, that's jazz, you know.
Yeah, I mean, just like the general like seventh chords that people play. It's just like, why is there a whole bunch of major stuff in here with a minor note thrown in there? It's like, because it sounds good. Like, don't ask questions, just do it. You know. So sometimes you just have to trust your gut, and you can even like make mistakes and pull them off and make them not sound like mistakes. You know, and that's, like I said, that's jazz.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of the way it goes. Like, music is just such a crazy thing because there's really no rules, and the people that break the rules are the ones that get noticed, you know. Usually, you know, you think about people like, obviously Jimi Hendrix wasn't the first person to do what he was doing, but he was the one who did it the most proficiently on a large scale. So like,
well, some things he did was the first one, like fucking planked his teeth and shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, he'd do crazy stuff, light his guitar on fire, and he was the first one to use a lot of feedback and really try to drive guitars to like distorted states, and you know, played crazy chords that people hadn't really played in popular music at that time, you know. So he did a lot of things and found patterns that he enjoyed a lot of success with, you know. And that's,
you don't think he was the first one to play guitar upside down like that?
No, I think it's just lefty, you know. There are other left-handed people out there. He just chose to do it that way, you know.
Okay.
Because he was left-handed, so, or was he? Or was it right-handed and he used a lefty guitar? But whatever, you get the gist, you know. So
yeah,
it's just a flipped guitar, which I mean,
I can imagine that being really complicated though. I can't imagine playing guitar upside down.
I don't think the strings were upside down. I think he restrung it to be.
Oh, he did.
But I do know people that do that. Like, I do know a guy that's left-handed, and he doesn't want to buy a left-handed guitar, so he just flips, because he's like, there's regular guitars everywhere, so he just takes those and he flipped them upside down, and that's how he learned how to play. So
that's insane.
It's really wild, but he plays the bass like normal left-handed. So
wow.
So yeah, it's really crazy to watch him play stuff. But it's like one of those things where you can play with so many people, and if you follow along visually with what people are doing, you're like, I don't know what chords he's making. Like, they're upside down. Like, you gotta really think about it, you know? So you have to follow like different fingers and different patterns. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts, dude. Sorry, circling back to hip hop, because I'm just curious, like, what's your like general opinion on hip hop? I don't know if I've ever really asked you this.
Oh,
do you like it? Do you hate it? Like, what? You can be honest.
Some of it's good, but it comes and goes in like sparseness. So like, when I went back to school, I was going to Iowa Central at the time, and it was just all the like trap drums and people like literally doing nothing more than talking over trap drums. So like, I don't know what genre that is, but there was a bunch of that everyone thought was cool, and I was just like, I'm not really into this. You gotta have like some sort of rhythm or some sort of inflection to your voice, or rap faster or slower, or use more beats while you're, you know, rapping back and forth. Like, I mean, like, obviously, like Eminem is like one of the people out there that's just like, this guy can get away with any beat he wants to. Like, he can rap super, super fast, super, super fast, and then he can kind of slow it back down and slow it back down. You know, so he can do like a lot of that kind of stuff. But it all seems to flow so well, and he can rhyme words in places where it's like they shouldn't all rhyme there, but because of how he's inflicting the beats, that's why they work where they do, you know. Like Tech Nine was another one that, like, when I was growing up, I was like, this guy's pretty cool. He's doing a lot of really neat things, pushing the envelope with how fast he can rap. And it's not like fastness is like what I always look for, because sometimes I look for people like creating a picture that I can actually like understand or you know, relate to in some sense, even if I have no background at all on this. So like older hip hop was always better at that, I feel, than newer hip hop. Newer hip hop doesn't hide things as well to let you fill in the gaps as older hip hop did, like back in the day.
What do you mean?
So imagine the difference between like reading a book and seeing a movie. When you see a movie, the actors are doing things and saying things, etc. But when you read a book, you get to hear the thoughts of the characters, but you still only get so much between point A and B given to you. Whereas in a movie, they might act all of that out. You know, so it's like so-and-so walks across a room and sees someone staring at them angrily. And it's like, in the movie, you get to see what that looks like. But in the book, you have to think about what that's like in your head and fill in the gap of, like, how angry did this person look, etc.
I see.
You know, so
you're saying a lot of, like, modern hip-hop is very, like a movie, like, in your face, and older hip-hop is more like left to the imagination.
There's a little bit more left to the imagination, I would say, you know, but maybe that's just me romanticizing, you know, nostalgia too, to an extent, where, like,
yeah, I do think there are a lot of artists like, you know, Ken Lamar, and, you know, I mean, I don't know if Griselda is really like lyrically like that, but I mean, they definitely are bringing back that like East Coast like style, like Biggie and Wu-Tang and you know, Mobb Deep and stuff like that, you know. But yeah, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. And, you know, there's like the whole, you know, Juice WRLD type of sing-songy type of trend. I don't know how you feel about that. I think, you know, Juice WRLD was pretty talented, but there's been a lot of, I don't know, desirable artists that have come out of that, I will say.
Yeah. I mean, I find it hard to enjoy a lot of what's coming out now, just because like my life, I don't relate to it. When I was a teenager, when I was younger growing up, I feel like I related to it to an extent somewhat, but now my life is pretty calm. I'm pretty just relaxed, and I don't know, it might just be like the aspect of a lot of it's just based on drama, but there's like a lot of it that comes out that it's just like, I can't believe this is as popular as it is. Like, and I'm not calling anyone out. I don't want anybody to, like, don't at me, bro. I'm done with that. I don't want to do any of it. But like Lil Yachty, like, I watch like his videos, like, it's just
Lil
like,
Yachty.
and it's like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. This is not what I enjoy, but obviously other people enjoy it because it's got a bajillion views, and the guy's like a multi-millionaire. So like, okay, I guess, you know. Well, yeah, you know, and I don't know. And then, like, that's a lot of the stuff that I heard while I was, like, you know, going back to school and things like that, when people would walk by in their headphones. It's just like music very similar to that. It's like, ugh, I don't know. But I remember like hanging out with kids and like popping on like NWA, and they were like, this is old, this isn't good. And I'm like, this is good. Like, tell me NWA ain't good. Like, it's like the freaking Beatles of rap here, man. Just tone it down a little bit, you know, or whatever, you know.
No, I mean, they're fucking pioneers for sure. Yeah. I excuse me. It's like the you know, the teenage girl that is wearing the Nirvana shirt, and she's like, you literally play her the Nirvana song, she doesn't know what it is. Yeah, like, they're just, it's how the generations are, like, and it's almost kind of cool to see like that hip hop's been around that long. It's really like I feel like there was a point when hip hop was starting that a lot of people dismissed it and were like, this is an art form, this is bullshit, you know. Like, they're not singing. Like, I don't know, do you listen to Ben Shapiro at all?
Yeah,
he has this whole thing.
I know who he is. I don't listen to him religiously, but
yeah, no, me neither.
Hit me.
Me neither. But no, there's the part. He goes in this whole rant where he talks about like how hip hop isn't music. He's like, it doesn't have rhythm or beat, you know, and like everything he's saying, it's just like, no, you're just not right. Like some people just, I don't know, like, especially back then, like, they just could not process that it was like an art form. But like, I feel like now it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people's arguments about rap or hip hop in any sense is like, that's all I gotta say. Like, it might not be my favorite kind of music, but it's obviously still music. Like, even if some of it's not very musical, it's still music, because you're still using rhythm, you're still using like notes and like to an extent you're still using like a key kind of, you know, to like form music and beats and mix things together. So
yeah, well, and like, I mean, I think you could argue that, especially the Juice WRLD type of music. Like, I mean, all that auto-tune, you know, you can say what you want about auto-tune, but that's even more musical in a way.
Yeah.
You know, like people like going in, like layering, like you know, Ken Lamar does that. He'll go in, like layer his voice 2-3 times, and like there's a whole chord structure in that, you know. He's doing high frequency, low, you know, and you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just different.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, like, the world was better when everyone got along, when, you know, like when rap and rock mixed together, you know, you had Aerosmith and Run DMC, but dude, like
like 3 years of that happened or whatever.
My favorite was Public Enemy and Anthrax.
I never heard that.
Oh my gosh, they're so awesome. I got a song called Bring the Noise that they did together. There's another song they did together, I believe, too, but yeah, love me some Public Enemy too. Like I said, the older stuff is what I enjoy more, and maybe it's me romanticizing it, but I enjoyed Tupac, but I never got so deep into it that I like went like off the deep end. But like I was so intrigued by some of the beats for Tupac that I got into the bands that he was like utilizing samples of. So like Zapp and Roger would be like one of the big ones. So I got like super into that, and that's like late 80s like funk dance music, and it's like so I like from rap I actually like started leaning into other things, you know, quite a bit, which is kind of fun to. That's kind of like how my brain works though. I'll like enjoy something and I'll collect some information on it and I'll be like, this part's interesting, let's go over here and see what's going on over here, and then you kind of like start watching something else, you know, or whatever. So like I don't know, I think about that like that you just go down like it's almost like a Wikipedia rabbit hole, but of like just things you're interested in, like music or TV shows or actors or whatever. And
yeah, well, that's, I mean, you know, you talk about Tupac, like Dr. Dre produced for him, and like that guy, people don't know this, like he would like sit down like you know, like rock bands, like a lot of guys like, you know, that you probably like and listen to talk about, like it's, and that's like kind of the beautiful thing about everything is like, especially hip hop, like you find so many people who do so many different things, like the Wu-Tang Clan, like RZA, he's like literally directing movies and shit, like he did the beats and he would rap. Like there's so many, like I meet so many people that come through here that like are just multi-talented doing crazy shit. There's this guy, I really want to get him on. His name's Young Honey. He does like every single facet of everything he does. He does the beats, he records himself, writes it, does the artwork, self-promotion, like literally every single aspect.
That's crazy.
It's insane. Like, and I mean, that's just a testament to technology too, what we can do.
True. Yeah. I mean, to an extent, I do most of that stuff for Audible Farm. The one thing I left out of my hands was the artwork, but
yeah.
I mean, the sad thing, if anybody that follows the Audible Farm podcast knows, our graphic designer passed away recently, so that's...
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was last week. I did I don't know, whenever you have this out, but like...
Oh, that's what it was?
Yeah, that was the replay of that, so... Yeah,
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, it's a sad deal, but it's just the way it goes, so... I don't know. I might just like leave the graphics as they are and never ever change them again. I don't know. Damn. It's tough. It's gonna be tough to have anybody outdo him. He was great. So
yeah. Wow. Rest in peace.
Yeah, I used to recommend him out to people, but you know, that's a sad deal. That's the way she goes. You have to like bring this to a crashing halt, you know, psychologically, and bring everyone downer. But
damn.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, this is in the couch. No, I'm just
we are done.
Yeah. And on that sourdough.
That's good.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, that's sad, man. I think I'm looking to like do some more. I'm talking to an artist right now about doing some, maybe some art for the show. I don't know. Like I like the logo. People like the logo enough, but like I did just pay like some kid $20 to do it on Fiverr. Yeah. So I feel like I almost want to like put like money into something like a piece of art that's valuable, you know. I mean, like sure I could probably draw something, but like I think, you know, like collaborating with people, it's important.
Yeah. I mean that's some of what it was for me, was collaborating. I also like knew this kid my entire life, so like he was the kind of guy that would like, you got half an hour to do this math test and he'd do like 6 of the 20 problems and the rest would just be like doodles, like of race cars and stuff. And it's like, that's just like who he was his entire life. Now he's a graphic designer, and it's just like, well, obviously, you know. So he like hand drew all my stuff for me, I guess I'm wearing the hoodie. It's on the back, but like I have like it's a pig. That's like part of my logo for Audible Farm, and that's recognized by everyone. You know, that's like the thing. You know, and so like
I still got a ton of your stickers, man.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is finding something like that to throw on your logo that everybody knows exactly what it is or whatever. Like I stole that logo and made an Audible Farm shirt out of this logo. You know, so. AFP instead of NWO for anybody that's a pro wrestling fan, but like that's where I got the idea for this was like an old pro wrestling t-shirt, but he like hand drew this instead of like just copying the text off of like the font off the internet, because he's like, this will be more custom, it's hand drawn, etc. You know, so
that's cool.
Yeah, he was really into that kind of work, so it's gonna be tough to find somebody that's gonna be willing to do that.
Yeah,
because like that pig, I don't know, he drew that by hand before he like digitized it and stuff.
So I wanted to ask you, I don't know if I asked you about this last time, but like, what was like the inspiration for the pig? Was that just random? Was that his idea? Like,
so,
or like the whole farm, like everything. Like, is there some story behind that?
I was a big fan of the book Animal Farm growing up, so like,
hell yeah,
it leans into that a little bit. I don't really know. Like, I was initially just recording bands playing live, and then with their permission, putting their set online. So I would do that at places, and then eventually I was just like, I need to start a podcast. But before all that, I was just like, I need a logo for this thing, even if I'm never gonna make like merch for it. It'd just be kind of fun. So I was like, it's called Audible Farm because like, I don't know. There's some parallels, but there's not enough parallels to really be like it parallels it a lot. But I just really like the book, I guess. Maybe I'm the pig and I'm taking over. I don't know. I don't know. So, but yeah.
You're fed? Oh, shit.
But yeah, so that's generally where it came from, I guess, is that part of the book. But I was literally just like farming up everyone else's like content and putting it in like one location. So like you know, taking their audio and video and putting it there, and then I was like, it's not a bad place to, you know, make a podcast and call it the same thing, because it's just audio based for the most part. So I wanted to talk to people, boom, start a podcast. There wasn't pretty much anyone else doing it at the time. I found people doing radio shows about it, and so I kind of like interacted with them about like what they do and how they did it, etc. So I just never wanted to be tied down by the FCC, and I do know how to do a podcast. I know how to record things and do things, but I don't like, if you put me at a computer and a big mixer like in a radio station, like I'm not going to know what half the stuff does. So I don't want to go learn it, so I'm not worried about it. And so I'm not going to work for a radio station, and I don't want to edit things down so much that it has to go on. Like, I don't want to put that much time in it, I guess, unless it's really going to be a payout to it. But to be on the radio is tough. You know, you'd have to edit out, you know, profanity and keep it within their frame of what they want to discuss on their radio station. You probably have to put disclaimers on it. You probably have to have people start signing contracts. Then you got to go find people to sponsor you, because you have to pay the radio for radio time. Like, that's how that's going to initially work usually. You have to be like, do you have an hour on a Sunday at night, you know, like 11 o'clock that I can buy from you, and so I can put this you know, if they, yeah, I don't know. So I'm not going to like make a show and put it anywhere, but I kind of interacted with them to figure out what would be a nice way to do this. And then I just took everyone else's formula where it's like copy Joe Rogan and go, you know. So, and I mean,
well, that's the beauty of podcasts. You know, you don't need the radio station.
No.
I mean, there obviously there's benefits, but I think over time that's going to decrease. You know, things are just becoming more independent. We're able to do what we do, and you know, have plenty, you know, recognizable. You know, we're both small comparatively to Joe Rogan, but we're getting there. You know, we're working. What's the statistic? I think it's only like 1% podcasts make it past 20 episodes, and then like the top 20% of that is like they're doing it, you know, weekly, like consistently. Like, it's such a, like, they say there's a million podcasts, but like the actual amount of podcasts that are actually doing things is so tiny.
I can't remember the original stat I heard was like if you count every podcast that was made in America, like throughout the course of all time, every person in America right now, like 1 out of every 4 would have a podcast. But that includes like all the defunct podcasts and all the like the ones that put out like 3 episodes a year or whatever, you know. So all that stuff, it included that too. So you got to think about that. But like,
that's the unfortunate thing about it. It's like any jackass can have a laptop in their bedroom or like, their basement and do podcasts.
Like me. Like me, man. I've been a jackass on the internet for about 3 or 4 years now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you have 100 coming up 174 episodes to back you up.
Yeah. I mean, you cleared 100. I feel like 100 is the big hurdle.
Exactly. I've been saying that forever. Like, I feel like when you get 3 digits, that's when you have some balls as a producer or a podcaster, I should say. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I like to think about this regardless too. Like, imagine, I'm just throwing this out as like random stats. You do an episode a week. That's an hour long every week. You know, so that's like what, 50 hours, and it's you and a guest. So you're probably talking half the time. So there's 25 hours, like a 1 full day of you talking on the internet, like every year going out there. So like when you cleared 100 episodes, that's 50 hours. That's 2 days of you talking now on the internet. So that's pretty wild to think about, like those kind of stats. And it's also weird to think like friggin' people are listening to this. Like, you know, like it's wild because I'm sure I feel like every time you do an episode, new people listen and then new people keep listening, you know? So you end up with that, even if it's a small number every single time. So you end up with this weird, like slowly growing community of people that know what you're doing and kind of want to get involved. And you just have to keep going. You have to keep going. And 100, I feel like, is just such a big number for so many people. I didn't do anything fun for 100 though. Like I didn't throw a party. I wasn't like happy at 100th episode or nothing. It was just regular episode.
Yeah.
So,
you know, that's not a bad thing, man. Like this 100 went pretty well. The 100 did go well, but you see our overhead is broken. That broke about an hour before we were supposed to start. Every milestone, I feel like 25, 50, 70, like those were like, I feel like just like for technical difficulties or whatever, like coming up to those episodes, it's like, you know, a moment like 25, 70, you know, and it's like it disappoints you. So yeah, I feel that like eventually you just get to the point where it's just like, you know, it's just a number, you know, it's just an episode.
So I don't want to grill you about stuff, but like,
go for it.
So
I'm no book.
I think about like when I do the podcast, every episode I get better and better at interviewing people, talking to people, staying on task, leading into the next conversation and things like that.
And I get worse. No.
but you've been getting worse. What's the deal with that? No, I like to think about like some weeks I don't have the passion to do podcast episodes as much as others, or like certain guests might not pique my interest as much as others.
Yeah,
I still always find a way to pull it out. I still find a way to like be as professional as possible. But like, does that ever happen to you? And what's your thought process on that? Like, this is nothing more than a runaway hobby. Why do I have to like treat this like a freaking business? You know, because that's kind of where my brain goes every now and then, and it almost like turns me into like burnout mode, where I'm just like, I don't really know if I want to keep doing this because I've been doing it for so long. I like make almost no money doing it. Like I do sell T-shirts and things like that, but
the cost you probably make more money than I do, honestly.
But the cost of driving everywhere, plus my time of doing all this stuff, and then sacrificing, you know, I could be doing literally anything else, etc. You know, free time's priceless. I'm not making any money doing this, you know. So it is more or less nothing more than like a charity case for everybody, but it is. I don't know. Do you ever go through any of those emotions or feelings while you're like, trying to schedule this out and do this?
Yes. I've always said like, I feel like a crazy person doing this. Like I feel like you, like, I mean, cause you kind of like travel. I mean, well, cause you don't have like guests over your place like every weekend.
Not often.
Like that's pretty much been like, I think you have to be a crazy person to do that, to have complete strangers in your house every weekend.
Yep.
Like different, like, Molly is I grill her on the show and everything in real life, but she's great. She's you know, her like running everything is like a big key that, you know, but and also like an emotional like thing. Like I don't think I could just like, I mean, obviously we're doing this right now, but like having her there is really important. But yeah, I mean, I guess ultimately it's the grind.
Yeah.
Like I think about like all the content that I listen to and all the content that I watch. And like, I feel like if you want to really do the podcasting thing, you have to put out an episode every week.
Yeah.
Not that people that don't do that aren't legitimate podcasts, but if you want to get to that point that those big podcasts, like, you know, Two Bears, One Cave, Confused Breakfast, you know, like if you want to get to that point, you have to do an episode once a week.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the one thing that's been like my saving grace. I've only ever missed 1 week ever, and that was the week I was sick.
Yeah, I mean, that means something, man.
I had a lot of people message me and tell me how we, like, not like mad at me, but how upset they were that they didn't have an episode to listen to. And I was just like, dude, I'm sorry. I don't even have the energy to sit at a computer and like throw together a replay. Like, I just can't. Like, sorry. Like, just go find an old episode. Like, I think that was my post too. Like, go through the back catalog and find something that you skipped. You know, like, I'm sorry.
Go listen to McAllister.
Yeah. Oh, man. But, I mean, there's not, like you said earlier in the episode, there's not many people out there doing what we're doing, especially not on, like, the consistency that we're doing.
No, I feel like, not talking shade or anything, but a lot of the people I know, other people who do podcasts, that's where they struggle, is consistency. Yeah. And it's just, and like, I'm not even shitting on them. Like, it's like you said, like having that like drive to do every week. Like, I can imagine for a lot of people, it just seems like crazy. Like, when we talk about like, hey, like, you need to hit 3 digits before like you have some balls. Like, to some people that like, what?
Yeah,
100 episodes,
2 years.
Even if you're doing minute-long episodes, that's 100 minutes of talking.
Yeah,
some people can't do that.
That's true. That's
I have them on my podcast. They can't do it then.
Yeah. I mean, comes back. I mean, that's the other worst thing about it too. Is just like some people you just want to shake the answers out of them and get them to talk more, and other people I feel like they're being intrusive by talking too much, and it's like, no, you're the guest. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And I love it when people do talk too much because they're just like, I'm sorry. I'm like, that made my job easy. You go back to edit it and it's just like, oh, my line has like no bumps in the audio because I barely talked. That's a good episode.
Yeah, I won't name names, but I did have like one episode where I felt bad really time where I had 2 guests, and one was just like soaking up all the fucking conversation. It was great. Like, I was enjoying myself, but I felt really bad for his guest because I would like try to talk to him and he would go off. And sometimes it can be, it's a balancing act.
Yeah,
it really is.
I've definitely found that too. Like, one-on-one interviews a million times easier than group interviews, at least for like, to the aspect where like you can control it a little bit better.
Yeah.
The more people you add, the more it's just kind of like one person says a comment, then everyone's just chirping, and then it's just like busy audio. It sounds like like the background noise of people talking at a mall in a movie. It's just like
that's true.
Everybody's just so like I don't really like enjoy that too much, especially like for me listening to podcasts. I don't enjoy that. More people, I'm not a big fan. Like Howard Stern would be a good example. There's like 9 people that have microphones on that show, and I don't know who's saying what half the time. So I just was not my thing, like.
Yeah, H3 has that problem too. Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, for this show, we are trying to get to that point, but like, I wouldn't want to exceed more than like, I think 5 people would be like a lot. Like, I don't know if I could handle 5 people.
Yeah, I interviewed a 5-person band once. It was tough.
You did?
Yeah.
Damn.
But it was weird though too, because like a lot of it, they all just waited their turn. So I'm sitting in a room with people and they're quiet for 40 minutes. It's like, that's weird too, though.
Yeah. Well, and like, I feel like some people, they see the lights and everything, they get kind of intimidated. Like, I feel like the last time I had 3 people on, they were all really nervous, and like, it was really hard to get them to talk. And like, it's hard enough when you have one person like that, but when you have 3 people, because then you're like really, like, you're kind of like really grasping for straws. Like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
okay, like, because you like, oh gosh, I've asked all my questions and they all gave like 10-word answers. Like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah, exactly. I think one of my favorite bailouts for a lot of that, like, instantly, is always to just like whatever they said, relate it to a story, and then tell that story, and then draw the parallel for them, and then get their response from that.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is like what I'm talking about, like skills of a podcaster. Like, these are the kind of the things you learn. Like I'm not trying to say like podcasting the same as like playing guitar, being a hip hop artist, but like I do believe it's an art form.
Yeah.
I do believe it takes skill to like have a conversation and to like direct things in a certain way. And not only that, like make it a piece of entertainment that people are going to watch and listen to.
Yeah, something that somebody actually wants to listen to. And you start to find out what works and what doesn't. Like on my podcast, I'm a guitarist. I like talking about gear, but as soon as I bring up gear talk, where it's just like, oh yeah, I mean those braided 1/4-inch coax cable, blah blah. You just start talking about gear, and people are just like, they just tune out because they don't care, or they don't know, they have no frame of reference, and it's understandable, So it's it is definitely an art form to be able to podcast and do this kind of thing. I mean, like conversing in general is an art form.
Yeah, especially in this day and age where everybody's on a screen,
Ugh. Oh my gosh.
But, that's another thing I've discovered with doing this is like I've always thought of myself as a really awkward person. And like, yeah, I've gotten some more self-confidence, sure, but like I meet some people and I'm just like, it sounds shitty, but I feel so much better about myself because I'm like, holy shit, this person is just woo.
Yeah. Yeah, but also like a lot of people forget that just because I have a podcast and I talk for an hour a week to everybody doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be a very talkative person.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm human just like everyone else. I have bad days and good days. I'm not always as good at hiding it, just like everyone else, So it's weird when you go into public and you're not having a good day and people are just like, oh my God, a great podcast this last week. It's just like, hey, thanks, dude. Like I feel like an anime character. It's just like, ha ha, like whatever, sweet.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough to put on the airs sometimes that you need to, when this is all said and done.
Yeah, it's like people that do like like you ever listen to Tim Pool, Tim Casserole? He does a podcast every night, 5 nights a week, and he does like 2-3 hours a night.
That's insane.
And it's all politics. And like I was talking about this in Molly today, like how these like talking heads like. They go on these like ludicrous points. Like they were pissed about like the M&M's shoes being different, and like it's ridiculous. But like I thought about it, and not that I'm saying that I like that or that's good, but like it almost kind of makes sense in a way because these people are talking for like 5 to 15 hours a week.
Yeah.
Like how do you fill that time up?
Yeah.
Like what do you like? I mean, sure, it's the internet. There's plenty of things going on, but like, how do you talk for that long?
Yeah, that's the benefit and downfall of 24-hour anything.
Yeah.
Like 24-hour news, same deal. 24-hour sports, same deal. I mean, like, is Tom Brady gonna do it again this year? I don't know. It's just like, oh my gosh, I don't want to hear any more of this talk. Like in the off season, there's like an NFL Network where they got to fill up how many hours a day with that bull crap in the off season. So-and-so ran a 4.40 at the NFL Combine this year.
Yeah.
You should have seen his bench press statistics last year, Steve. It's just how I feel.
That's really good.
I don't know. But
yeah, I get sports talk I've never been able to understand how somebody can talk that much. I've understood that less than like podcasts. It's like, how can people talk that long for about that?
I don't know.
That's just me.
I'm a big pro wrestling fan, so my opinion is definitely, probably null and void when it comes down to that. Because it's just like I watch people fake fight in their underwear sometimes. So whatever.
Yeah. Peter, we're at the 2-hour mark, man.
Oh geez, I didn't even look at my watch. That's crazy. Yeah. We're just crushing it over here.
Yeah, I know you got to drive and all that. Is there anything that you want to talk or want to discuss or bring up before we wrap this up?
Three Finger Betty's got a big show coming up. Go to Three Finger Betty at Three Finger Betty pretty much anywhere on social media. That's where that stuff's at. Check out Jesse Wilson Music. That's pretty much what all of his social media is. Check out Audible Farm. Go to the shop. Buy the stuff. I've got some stuff. So yeah. Otherwise, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. This is a fun time. Basically, if you have like any free time ever throughout the week, just go see Peter doing something because, I mean, that's how often he's fucking out. Jesus, man.
Yeah, I'm out there.
Yeah, fucking impressive, man. I love everything you're doing.
Thanks.
It's awesome.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Peter,
it.
It's been a good one.
Good to see you.
All right. Peace out, everybody. We'll see you in the other end. Have a good one.